Hi, I'm Jan Wegener and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. To begin this video, I wanted to thank all of you for your continued support. We've just hit a big milestone on this channel, 100,000 subscribers, and without all of you, this would have never been possible. It's been an amazing journey from my first video where we didn't have great image quality or sound, to now where hopefully a lot of that has improved dramatically. And I'm also hoping that I'm really able to give back with this channel and help you on your own photography journey, whether it's learning, editing, picking the right gear, or finding out those crucial field techniques. It's not always easy, but to show my appreciation, I also try to answer all the comments I get below the videos and the direct messages and many emails. So thanks again for your support, and hopefully we can keep this channel going for many more years and you keep watching. One thing that is quite annoying when you live in warmer and more humid climates like I do now is that if you don't pay attention, your stuff gets very moldy quite quickly. So we've had a lot of rain over the last few weeks, and when I opened the back of my car and pulled out one of the drawers, I found a very moldy camera backpack in there, which is never fun. So I had to unpack everything else, spray the car and dry it all out. But looking at the backpack, I think it's actually completely done. So it looks like it's time for me to get a new backpack and then also probably not leave it in the car all the time. And that made me think, what are your favorite camera backpacks? I've used many different brands over the years, Low Pro, then I had a lot of f-stop backpacks, and more recently I really enjoy the Naya Evo backpacks because they just work really well and are made from high quality materials. And what I like the most about it is that I can actually have a backpack that is carry-on size, but put my 600mm f4 with an attached camera in there, which is quite rare in that categories. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What are your experiences with backpacks? What are the ones that you really like? And what are the ones where you maybe had some bad experiences with? And if you want to get yourself a new backpack, maybe one of the Naya Evo bags, I've linked a special discount code for you down there in the description as well. We talk a lot about gear and upgrading new gear and new gear on this channel. And so I was actually wondering, what is the trigger for all of you to decide to buy a new piece of equipment? For me personally, this has changed a fair bit over the last few years because now doing YouTube and doing a lot of gear reviews, I'm basically always forced to get the latest and greatest equipment right on release. So what's your take on updating camera gear? Do you hold on to your gear until you feel like your camera is basically broken or done? Or do you like to upgrade on a regular basis? And what causes you to pull the trigger on some new gear? Let me know. A few days ago, I posted a video where I showed a quick and easy to follow Lightroom workflow that allows you to take dull and noisy images and turn them into beautiful final edited images pretty quickly. And it was so great to see that I was able to teach many of you a few new tricks like the intersecting mask feature in Lightroom that can be a real game changer. So if you haven't watched that video yet, make sure to check it out after watching this one. And if you want to learn more editing tricks and techniques that you probably never heard of before, but that can make your editing life so much easier and have a huge impact on your final results, I would recommend that you check out my Lightroom and Next Generation Photoshop Masterclasses. In these classes, I teach you step by step and in easy to follow chapters, a fast and efficient workflow that you can apply to all your RAW files and get great results in no time. But of course you won't just be watching, because after learning the tricks and techniques, we put them right into action and edit some of my RAW files together. And if you're not sure if my classes are worth it or the right fit for you, check out some of the amazing reviews that I receive on a daily basis from many happy students who I've helped to turn their editing lives around already, and now they get great results and have fun along the way. So if you want to turn editing from a frustrating chore where you don't really know what to do or what sliders to pull into a rewarding experience where you have a great workflow to follow that guarantees you fantastic results and also enjoy the process, make sure to check out my Lightroom and Next Generation Photoshop Masterclasses down there in the description. I know that will help you a lot. It looks like camera gear and lenses are too cheap, and that's why prices have to go up. Or at least that's what the manufacturers are seemingly thinking. I think most of us would disagree, am I right? With all the different talk about tariffs and trade wars going on, it seems like that Canon Canada and Canon USA have decided to raise the prices across all their products by 7 to 8% in those markets, which is definitely not great news for everyone living there. And if you look at B&H, for instance, it also seems like that certain Sony lenses that are manufactured in China or use a lot of Chinese parts are currently unavailable to be ordered in the US, which is definitely an interesting development and begs the question, what is happening going forward? Are the manufacturers shifting their production to other countries, or will certain lenses be not available in the US or much more expensive? So definitely still a lot going on. But at the same time, it's also great to see that there's a few very interesting and quite big discounts to be had on certain cameras at the moment as well, like the Canon R6 Mark II, which in my opinion is a fantastic all-rounder with great image quality and great autofocus, which can be had, I think, for $18.99 US now, which is definitely a great deal for that camera. But this could also mean that we might see a replacement the R6 Mark III in a not too distant future. But for everyone who's looking for a great camera at a great price, this might be a deal worth looking at. Over the past few months, I've talked about one topic a few times, and that is the lacking bird detection autofocus in the Nikon Z6 III. Overall, this is a fantastic camera, but for bird photographers in particular, not having the bird detection autofocus is definitely a major drawback. The difference between the animal eye tracking autofocus and the bird eye tracking autofocus in the Nikon Z8, for instance, is quite dramatic. So I was quite delighted to see that Nikon finally officially addressed that concern, even though it seems like the solution may still be many months away. Because last week, Nikon USA posted that the bird detection autofocus will come to the Z6 III by the end of the year. So I don't know why it's still taking so long, maybe another 8 months, but at the same time, I'm very happy to see that that firmware update will eventually come. Canon Rumors posted a very interesting article this week that I also link for you down there in the description that discusses the end of service life for all Canon products where that is currently known. And this basically means that Canon always sets a date from which point onwards they might not have any spare parts available or are able to service your product anymore if there's certain issues. Now, if you already own this piece of gear, this may not matter as much, but if you're planning to buy used equipment, I think this list is very interesting because you don't really want to buy a used lens, for instance, that is right at the end of their service life. Now, the end of service life doesn't mean that no one can fix your lens anymore, because Canon might still be able to do it, or there will be third-party service centers that can still fix it. But there may be the chance that there's simply no spare parts available anymore if your image stabilization breaks, for instance. Now you can look at the whole list yourself, but one lens that I found very interesting that is quite popular amongst us bird photographers is the Canon EF 600mm LES version 2. And the interesting part about that lens is that the service life will expire this July, so only a few months from now. Now, most of these lenses will probably never break and they can last your lifetime, but I think knowing about the availability of parts and maybe not being able to service a lens is worthwhile. If you mainly own EOS R cameras and RF lenses, then this is really not a concern for you, and most of these lenses don't even have an end of service date announced yet. The most noticeable one is probably the EOS R6, but even there the end of service life is only in 2030, so many years away yet. But it does seem like that Canon wants to phase out some of the DSLR cameras and some of the EF lenses, because I suppose it's quite hard to keep carrying all these parts and keeping the ability to service all these lenses. So pushing more and more people towards the EOS R system and the RF lenses probably makes a lot of sense from their perspective. Sony Alpha Rumors also posted quite an interesting patent this week where it looks like Sony is working on an 800mm f5.6 lens and an f4 400mm prime lens. Two lenses which could definitely be quite interesting, especially if they would be able to make them quite small and light. Now with patents, we never know if they actually become reality, but it's great to see all the manufacturers working on many different versions of big telephoto lenses, because that's what we always need for us bird photographers, don't we? Last week, DxO also released Pure Raw 5. Is that something that you've tried out yet? If not, I linked it for you down there in the description where you can get a free trial version. I must say, over the years, I'm probably now 70% Adobe Enhance and 30% DxO Pure Raw when it comes to my own noise reduction. In most cases, especially if I want to do it really quickly, Adobe Enhance does a fantastic job. And I think for most people, this is actually enough, because then you also don't have to buy any extra software or pay for any extra software. But at the same time, what's nice about DxO Puro is that you have a lot more control over the results. You can use different processing methods, and you can kind of decide how much sharpening you want and how much detail you want to force into the bird and the background. So if you want more flexibility, DxO Puro is definitely interesting. But at the same time, I think all of the noise reduction software have come such a long way now that the differences between the softwares and the different version of each software becomes more and more marginal. Would you agree with that assessment? And what is your favorite noise reduction software? Adobe Enhance, are you using Topaz, do you use DxO, or do you use another software? Let me know. And to end this video, I wanted to share a few awards with you that have recently been given out to different cameras by an organization called, I think, TIPA. I'm not entirely sure, but before I show you the results, we also have to take this with a grain of salt, because these awards are paid for by the manufacturers, and there's so many categories that basically everyone can have a winner. But at the same time, I think it's always nice to look how different people think about the gear that we're using. So I'm just sharing the results here with you, and I wonder if you guys would agree. Is the R5 Mark II the best hybrid camera for you? The A1 Mark II the best professional camera? And the Z6 III the best expert camera? Whatever that means. Let me know in the comments. Also, make sure to share all your other thoughts about this video in the comments. Give me a thumbs up for the video. Check out my channel membership and my masterclasses. And of course, hit that subscribe button. And I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye.